So, welcome to the ZMY Begin class. Just, if you have questions, that's what this class is for, okay? It's not just a one-way conversation where I'm telling you to do things. Like I was always taught by my teacher to ask why. Like, why do I have to keep my knee over my ankle? Or why do I have to keep everything, just whatever it is. If something comes up, go ahead and ask, okay? We take it pretty slow, but also if I see that you're capable of doing more, I might push you to do more. So there's that. Okay, so go ahead. We're gonna start on the bolster. And in our Begin class, almost always, we start on the bolster because we spend so much of our time sitting, closing up the front of our body, driving, computering, phoning, whatever it is. So a lot of the muscles in the front of the body close off, and we really need to work on opening. And some of you are probably open here, but we do it anyways. So what we're gonna do is have this bolster or pillow, Robin, a few inches away from, or a couple inches away from the body, because we really want it to start in the curve of the lower lumbar. And then we're gonna lie down. And then from here, if it feels okay to keep your legs straight, just keep your legs straight and extend your arms kind of like a T or an airplane. And one extra step here, if you feel like it would feel good to bring the bottoms of your feet together and let the knees hang out, kind of like butterfly legs, you can do that. If that gets uncomfortable after a little bit, you can always straighten your legs again. This is about you listening to your body, listening to what it needs. Because the body does tell us what it needs. I mean, it tells us when it's in distress by, a manifestation of symptoms or sicknesses or illnesses. So it does communicate with us. We need to just be in touch with it. And we're going to focus on just the slow, steady inhale and exhale. If we can practice slowly breathing, belly, chest, exhale, just kind of an inhale, the belly, the chest, and then an exhale, our regular passive breath. Then no matter what is happening around us, we can get through it in more of a response rather than reaction. And actually having the studio here on Main Street is a really good practice for that observation, because you're going, especially in the summertime, we have the windows open, you're going to hear cars, you're going to, sometimes we have an ambulance going down the street, just chaos and noise. Through that, can you just observe what's happening and just keep that slow, steady breath, that pace? Your mind is probably going to wander through this class. That's okay. I'll remind you to come back to the mat. And the breath is truly like our anchor. If we're focusing on the inhale and the exhale, the mind can't go other places. It can't go in the past. It can't go in the future. It's really in the present. The breath is always in the present. If your shoulders feel pretty open, you could slide your hands closer up towards the head. But if you're feeling a pretty good stretch already, you can keep them where they are. And we're just going to stay here for 4 or 5 more breaths. Nice and slow. We're in no hurry. Feel the oxygen reach every inch of the body, nourishing from the inside out. And now if your knees are open, you're gonna bring your hands down and help your legs close back together. And so we all are gonna end up with straight legs. Once you have your straight legs, bring your arms overhead and just take a really long stretch. Just a really long stretch here. You can point the toes, circle the ankles, circle the wrists. And when you're done with your stretch, you can bring your arms down, carefully roll to your side. So bend your knees, roll to your side, and then just move that bolster off of your mat. Just move it off to the side because we're gonna lie back down onto our backs. Yep, just kick it off to the side. Once you're lying down, you're gonna hug the knees. So bringing the knees up towards the body one at a time. Lift the tailbone to make sure the lower back is really flat. Keep the belly soft here. As you rock back and forth, you might feel a nice release in the lower back. And then we're gonna actually cross the shins. So whatever, foot is already on top or close to it, just cross the shins. See if you can grab your feet and pull the feet towards the body. Yeah, yep. And then rock a little bit back and forth this way. So just opening up the ankles, the tops of the feet. We're gonna do a few rocks this way, and then we're gonna actually cross the legs in the other direction. So whatever foot is on top is now gonna go on bottom, and then you're gonna grab again. It's gonna feel really weird and awkward, but we're always just seeking balance. And then go ahead and slow down your rocking, come back to stillness, release the feet, bring your feet down to the mat, keep the knees bent. We're gonna shift the hips to the left side of the mat. So just bring the hips over to the left, keep your knees stacked and let them drop to the right. So we're trying to get the knees and the hips stacked. If you're tight in the lower back, this might not happen. And that's okay. If you want to use your hand on the top leg to keep it pressing down, you can. And now we're going to bend our arms kind of like a goalpost. So elbows are going to be bent 90 degrees or just one if you're helping that leg. And we're trying to keep the left shoulder and the left shoulder blade heavy towards the mat. And you're just going to breathe here, that same slow, steady breath. And know that you are doing such good things for your digestive system and your organs here, and the muscles in the lower back, mobility in the spine, all of that. Take 3 more breaths. And then inhale your knees back up towards the ceiling. Shift your hips back to center. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So bring your hips to the right side of the mat, drop your knees to the left, and then bring the arms or the elbows at a 90-degree angle. Well, I guess it is your arms. The elbows themselves don't bend 90 degrees. And just breathe here. Notice any differences on this side than the other. You might feel more open, you might feel tight. And usually we have a shoulder that might feel a little bit tighter. They're not always even and balanced. So like my right shoulder usually feels tighter when I'm doing something like this because I'm right-handed. I use the right side of my body more. We'll take another breath or two here. And then go ahead, sorry, you're gonna use the abdominals. Inhale your knees back up towards the ceiling. Shift your hips back to center. And now we're good. Grab that block I gave you. If you're gonna sit up, roll to your side. Just reach for the block. And so Robin, grab your block too. And we're gonna actually put our legs straight up. You can do this at home on the wall too, which is really good after a long day. It helps, put you in rest and digest. You're going to take the block sideways like this so it can read the pelvis. Lift your hips and put the block underneath. So we don't want it on the tailbone. We want it on the sacrum, which is right above the tailbone. It's like that triangle where the dimples are sometimes on the top of the butt. So it shouldn't hurt. Find a place where it doesn't hurt. It's not on the spine. It's right below the spine, that flat place. Make sure your shoulder blades are flat on the mat, and then we're going to do this slow and mindfully. So bring the left leg up. Foot is flat, like you're kicking up towards the ceiling. And then bring the other leg up and bring them together as close as you can, like you have one big leg. And the legs are going to be straight up and down. They're not going to be too close to the face or too far away. Try to have some body awareness here of what your legs feel like straight up and down. Because sometimes what we imagine or what we think we are or see is completely different from what is reality, right? So we learn that kind of stuff on the mat here, and then we can take it off the mat. Usually it's that voice, that negative voice in our head that tells us we're something, but we're not. And so after a couple of breaths, you might start to feel some sensations in the legs, some tingling, things like that. We're just going to breathe through that. We're going to be here for a good 10 breaths. This is really good for stress and anxiety in the body. It's good for tired legs, swollen legs and feet, varicose veins, all of that stuff. You could do this on your own up to, as long as you can stand it, 10, 20 minutes, things like that. Another breath or two. And then we're going to do this slowly, mindfully, and 1 foot at a time. So left foot is going to come down first. Move it nice and slow. Feel how the sensations change in the leg as you move. And then bring the right one down. Bend the knee. Foot is flat on the mat. And then once you're feeling connected to your mat again, go ahead and lift the hips, remove the block, and then lower the hips back down. One more time, hug of the knees. This time you can maybe draw circles on the ceiling with the knees to get more rotation in the hips. We're going to go clockwise. We're going to go counterclockwise. And then go ahead and bring the feet down. Roll onto your side and sit yourself up. We're going to come to hands and knees. Okay. So once we're at hands and knees, we're going to actually come into child's pose. I don't know why I have such gargling going on. Okay, so knees are going to come apart. Nice wide space for our bellies. Big toes are going to come together. And then we're going to sit back on our heels. Best you can. If the heels don't go, if the butt doesn't go all the way to the heels, that's okay. As long as, is everybody's knees okay? Where knees are okay? Okay. Now walk the hands forward and extend your fingertips. If you're and put it there. If it doesn't reach the mat, you can stack your fists and rest on your fists. So as you're here, you're going to come back to the breath. You're going to feel the evenness of the breath travel up and down the spine and the back of the body. Just feel the inhale and the exhale moving through the back of the body. You'll probably feel a stretch in the hips, the feet, the lower back, wherever your body needs it, you'll feel it. We'll take another breath or two here. If you press your hands into the mat, you will feel an opening in the shoulders too. So if you have tight shoulders, just try that out. You can always just release and relax. And now inhale, lift the head. We're gonna walk the hands in just a full hand, say. And then we're gonna walk as far to the right as we can and soften down towards the floor. So we're trying to get into those lower parts of the back and then like the QL muscles and things like that. And you're also in a twist here. Do you guys feel that? Like it at the very least, it opens up the side body. Yeah, exactly. Good. And just take a few breaths here. On your next inhale, lift up. Slowly walk your hands to the left. You're manipulating your spine in all different directions here, so move slowly if you need to. I came in here with tons of like back issues, and so it really was I had to be very careful. And soften towards the floor, take some breaths here. On your next inhale, go ahead and lift. Walk your hands back to center and then push yourself back to hands and knees. Knees are going to go under the hips. The hands are going to be shoulder width apart. Something that we really focus on here, because you're putting weight on your wrists, and when we use our wrists a lot, right? Like we are not very careful with our wrists, and they're fragile. So always make sure your fingers are spread. You're pressing here, and then your wrist creases should be parallel to the front of your mat. So you want to open up so that they're parallel. Yep, looks pretty good. And your hands can go a little bit wider or further apart. Yep, and spread the fingers. Okay, so we're gonna thread, well, we'll do our cat pose first, and then we'll thread the needle since we already set up our hands. So now that we're here, inhale, lift the tailbone, drop the belly, and lift the chin. And I know my hair looks like I'm a maniac right now, so sorry about that. I washed it this morning. Exhale, tuck the tailbone, separate the shoulder blades, drop the head. Inhale, come back. So we're just gonna go back and forth with this. Lift the tailbone, feel a stretch in the front of you probably like that, right? You feel it? And then exhale, push the floor away from you, really release the back muscle. We're gonna go through that a few more times. In the beginning, something like this feels a little bit awkward, okay? But you're really just mobility of the spine. Pull the floor towards you as you drop your spine towards the mat, and push the floor away from you as you release. Good. It feels so good though, doesn't it? It just feels so good on the spine. Yeah. Good. Go ahead and finish up where you are, and then we're all gonna end up with a flat back. And we'll thread the needle next. You guys are like, what the heck is that? I'll show you. Your left hand will go in the center of the mat. Inhale the right arm up. So we're trying to get this counter twist. And then exhale, slide the arm through. So we're trying to reach as far as we can with those right fingertips, rest the head on the floor. And then this left hand is gonna wanna move somewhere like a kickstand so it can support you, and push into the floor so you can open up and twist. Good. Take some breaths here. See if you can feel the breath in between the shoulder blades here. And even if you're a little bit flexible and you don't feel much of a twist here, that's okay. Maybe you could straighten out the hips, see if that helps. And at the very least, your body is in a twist, which is gonna keep it feeling good. On your next inhale, come back up to hands and knees. Bring the hands back to where they were, and we're gonna do the other side. So right hand to the center now. Inhale the left arm up, And then exhale, slide it under, reach the left fingertips as far as you can. And let the head rest on the floor. Yep, the more you push that top arm at a 90-degree angle, the more you can get into the twist. And try to feel the stretch coming from the shoulder socket. See how that goes. Another breath or two. And then inhale, come back to hands and knees. All right. You ready to move along? Are we doing okay so far? This is all pretty feel-good stuff, right? Now it's going to get really hard. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Robin's like, no, she's not. Have your block handy just in case. You may need it. You might not. All right, so we're just going to start by opening up the hips a little bit more. So bring the right leg forward. And the reason the block would be there is because see how round my back is here when I try to get my hands flat? Do you see how round it is? It shouldn't look like that. It should look more like this. And I need my arms to be a little bit longer to do that. So I take the block and I use that. Now, the right foot can walk a little bit closer to the edge. Yep. And we're going to shift our hips forward in this lunge. The knee can go over the ankle. Try to keep the heel on the ground. If the heel is not going on the ground, then walk your foot forward maybe a little bit. Do we all feel it pretty good? You're going to maybe feel it here. You'll feel it where you need to. These are actually not the best lunging pants, but it works. If you hear a big rip, you know, whatever, it happens. Worst things have happened in a yoga class. Okay, shoulders are going to draw back. So the shoulder blades, inner edges of the shoulder blades, we pay attention to a lot. So as we're working at a desk or doing whatever, inner edges of the shoulder blades draw towards each other and down towards the tailbone. Okay, this is like where we need to be to stay open. Take another breath here. And then shift your hips carefully back to center. Bring your right knee back, left leg forward. Okay, walk the left foot towards the edge of the mat and then shift your hips forward. Even here, we are putting pressure on the arms, right? So if like right now, I'm pretty sure my shoulders are over like beyond my wrists and I don't want that. So I need to move my block up a little bit. Shoulders always behind the wrists. Most cases, I shouldn't say always. There's always some caveats. And now shoulder blades draw together and down towards the tailbone. And then see if you can bring your awareness to your lower belly. Just kind of gather it below the navel in and up to keep that energy lifting upward. That protects the lower back. It also strengthens the abdominal wall. I'm not talking six packs here. We don't care about that. We care about keeping our organs in and healthy, you know, because as we get older, that like pelvic floor stuff, all of that stuff starts to happen. We have to strengthen from the inside. I'm going to take another breath here. And then go ahead and shift back. Good. Back to hands and knees. We're going to come up into our first down dog. Is that fan okay? Do you want me to turn the fan off? No, it's just not good. Okay, all right. Like, is it drying out your eyeballs? Because we are in Colorado. Okay. One hand length forward. Curl the toes under. Remember how I said for setting up the wrists and the hands. Curl the toes under and lift the hips up and back. No, your knees can stay bent here. Maybe separate your feet hip width apart. And line up your ears with your inner arms. Yeah, that looks good. Your knees can be bent, your heels can be up. That part doesn't matter. We're just going to walk the feet like we're pedaling the feet to stretch the back of the legs here. And down dog is really meant to lengthen the spine. So in the beginning, it really doesn't matter if your heels touch the floor. Eventually, you'll grow into that. Maybe, maybe not. It doesn't matter, but lengthen the spine here. Good. Separate the feet to the edges of the mat because we're going to walk backwards. So start to walk the hands towards the feet. Don't come up yet. Just hands towards the feet. Maybe your fingertips come to the mat. You're going to drop the head. Just let the head dangle like it's dangling from a thread. And even here, as we open up and stretch, we're going to draw the shoulder blades towards each other. We got to make the back work. Maybe you can sway a little bit left to right if that feels good. If it feels good to grab opposite elbows and hang a little bit deeper, you can do that and sway. All that blood rushing to your head is actually a good thing, as long as we come up slowly. So now you can stop your swaying. You can bring your fingertips back to the mat if they're not already. And I want you to lift up your head. So like you're coming up halfway. But as you do it, yeah, good, nice flat backs. Bring your hands to your shins, maybe lift a little bit higher. The legs are really strong here. And then slightly bend the knees. We're going to inhale and come all the way up. Bring your palms together and exhale your hands in front of the heart. Woo. Go ahead and release. Come to the front of your mat. You doing good, Robin? Wondering how the puppy's doing too. All right, so we're gonna start just by standing here. This mountain pose is a very important posture that we do. We're looking for balance and alignment in the whole body. So feet are hip width apart, the inner edges of the feet are straight. If you're used to walking like this or like this is gonna feel weird. But when you're walking like this or like this, you're doing something to your hips and your knees that 20 years from now are not going to be that great. So we want to keep everything lined up. Just take a look at your knees really quickly. If they are caving in, like mine do when my feet go straight, I want you to really engage the muscles and try to find all four corners of your feet. Just press down into the feet. If you can't feel it yet, that's okay. I'm just working towards that. And go ahead and lengthen through the crown of the head, the top of the head. Shoulder blades are working towards each other and down. Soften here. If you're used to holding tension here and here, it's because they're doing the work that the shoulder blades should be doing. So see if you can find, like even just kind of feel what's going on as your hand is down. Like engage your shoulder blades and then feel your trapezius here. It should be fairly soft, unless you're just really, if it's rock hard, then you need a massage, okay? But see if you can feel that strength move. Chin is parallel to the floor. And then we're just trying to keep everything, like we talked about this last week, right? Like if your weight is going here, we're gonna have to shift that back and try to find that alignment. Your toes might lift, that's okay. We're gonna hold this for 3 more breaths. And then go ahead and relax because that gets tiring in the beginning. All right, I want you to turn sideways on your mat and take a wide stance. Take your block with you. And I don't need to be on a slippery rug for this, so I don't need to do the splits today or ever for that matter. I'm good with that never happening in my life. Okay, so feet are nice and separated. Well, how wide do we have our feet? We want them to be at least in the area. So it might feel like a super wide stance. And if you're tight here or tight here, you'll feel it, but just make it happen. All right, bring the arms down. You guys all have your blocks in the right spot. Legs are gonna be strong here. Also, if your ankles are weak or you have pain in your ankles, you're gonna really wanna make sure to press the inner edges of the feet. It's like you're pressing the ankles in towards each other, okay? Legs are strong, hands are on the waist. Inhale, get really tall. And now exhale, fold forward like you're hinging from the hip sockets. Bring your hands to that block. Even if you can go further, we're gonna stay here for a breath or two because this is more about awareness, okay? Lift the knees so you're engaging your quadriceps. So you're not locking the knees out, you're actually engaging the muscles. Inhale, lengthen through the crown of the head again, create some space in the back, and then hinge forward. Again, maybe you can flatten the block. Maybe you can bring fingertips to the floor. If you feel your upper back start to round, then you're gonna wanna use the block. So draw your shoulder blades towards each other, just like we did standing up. And Jenny, you could probably bring your hands down to the mat, but have them on the mat. Yeah, and now shift your weight forward a little bit and let your head hang. Nice, you guys look great. We're gonna take a few breaths here. Keep the legs strong the whole time. Feels like you're lifting your butt up towards the ceiling. And that's how we protect the hamstring attachments, because people get this thing called yoga butt because, you know, the attachments can rip. Go ahead and shift your weight forward a little bit. Yep, bring your weight to the front of the feet, and you could actually go a little bit further. Yep, just keep your legs strong. We're gonna take 1 or 2 more breaths here. Make that work. Yes, the whole time, the whole time. Okay, inhale, lift the head. Come back to your block if you need it. If your lower back is, you know, vulnerable, you're gonna wanna bend your knees, but otherwise, if you can just bring your hands to your waist, keep a straight back, don't round the spine. Use your back muscles to lift you up, back to standing. Yeah, and then bring your feet back together. Give your ankles a break. That was really good. Yeah, nice. Okay, we're gonna do one more where we separate the feet, and then we're gonna move on to some balancing, okay? So again, separate the feet. Bring your right toes towards me. And when I refer to like mountain pose legs, mountain pose spine, mountain pose feet, or Tadasana, which is what we call it in Sanskrit, which you don't have to know that that's what I'm talking about, the alignment and the straightness. So the inner edge of the foot is straight forward towards me. We're gonna inhale and extend the arms. The back foot looks good, parallel to the back of the mat. And now exhale, bend the right knee straight over the second and third toe. If your knee is going past the ankle, take a wider stance. Bring your forearm on top of the thigh. And then the left arm, we're gonna kind of swoop down this way so we get a nice rotation in the shoulder joint and bring it up towards the ear. Yes, so we have this side angle pose. Find the spot, we're gonna take some breaths here. Push your forearm into the leg so we're not sinking into the shoulder. Press the feet. Squeeze everything in and up. Good, one more breath here. Inhale, come all the way up. We're gonna rotate the right toes in and now pivot the left toes out. So now you're facing the back of the mat. As you bend the left knee, make sure that it's straight forward, okay? Because our knees will have a tendency to go that way. And imagine weight going onto the knee that way. Not good, right? Okay, so exhale, left forearm, right arm up and over. Rotate the pinky towards the floor so we can get in deep into the shoulder socket. Good. Find a spot to stare at for your focus. And I'll count your breaths here. 1, 2, 3. Before we come up, gather at the lower belly, in and up. Good. Press your feet. Inhale, come back to standing. And then exhale, bring the hands down, rotate the toes in, bring the feet back together. Nice. Come back to the front of your mat. So for our balancing today, we're gonna do, we're gonna use the wall if we need it, but we're gonna balance like this, okay? So left hand will be on the waist. Shift your weight to the left leg, and then grab your right knee. If you already have a focus point, if you're using your breath, this will be easier, but you still will wobble a little bit, and that's okay. So we're gonna take a few breaths here, keep the foot flexed. So energetically, we're lifting up. Move it out to the side. Back to center. Okay, so this is too easy for you guys, for all of you. So, so we're gonna change it up a little bit, okay? Feel free to do the knee thing again. See if you can grab the toe. And use the wall if you need to. You might have to turn face the other way, but see if you can do this. Take a few breaths here. And if you fall out, just go back into it. Try to take 3 breaths. Have your focus point. And always go back to the knee if you want. Good. Now let go of the toe and point. 1, 2, 3, and release. So I'll tell you, this is not a beginner pose, but when you read the room, like Robin, I know you've been practicing it for a while. You were practicing it the other day in here. You guys are totally capable of doing it. Let's go ahead and see how our balance is with the knee first on the other side. So here. Here. Back to center. Bring it down. All right, let's do it. Bend the knee, grab the toe. Have a spot to stare at. Just extend. The knee doesn't have to be straight all the way. Now point the toes. 1, 2, 3. Shake the legs out a little bit and come back to your mountain pose. Inhale, bring the arms up. Interlace the fingers, exhale, hands in front of the heart. 2 more times like that. Inhale, reach up. Exhale. Last time. Inhale, reach up as high as you can. And then exhale down. We're going to bring the arms up one more time, but this time to do some side stretching. So inhale, reach the arms up, grab your left wrist and lean to the right. And try to keep the chest lifted. Inhale, back and forth. Grab the right wrist, lean to the left. Try to keep all 4 corners of each foot planted so we're not getting lighter in order to go further. Come back to center, bring the arms down, and we're just going to have a seat back on the mat. Bring the legs straight out in front of you. And actually, let's grab our belts for this. We may or may not need them. So for our forward folds, it really comes from the hips, okay, and tilting the pelvis forward. This was very hard for me in the beginning because my back was so weak. But helping by bringing the seat meat away from the sitting bones, and even if you kind of just take your whole leg, this is going to sound weird, but take your whole leg and just deepen the hip socket. Deepen the leg in the hip socket, and that'll help give you a lift. Put the belt around the tops of the feet. Keep the feet flexed. We're not going to hold on for dear life on the belt. We're just going to hold on loosely. It's a cool song, by the way, right? Inhale, get tall. Exhale, keep the shoulder blades drawing towards each other, and then see how far you can go without doing this. We're going to do chin towards the shins. Your hamstrings will stop you or your back will stop you. Just be honest with your body. Take a few breaths wherever you are. And if you can grab the feet, grab the feet. Yep. And if you're grabbing the feet, aim for the outsides of the feet. And then pull the shoulder blades back again. Nice. Take a couple breaths here. That looks good. Soften the shoulders away from the ears. And Robin, I'm assuming you're flipping your hands out at this point. No? Yeah? Okay. Come on, come on. Inhale, look up. Exhale, release. So because if you do forward folds in an honest way, you're not going to perpetuate back weakness. You're actually going to perpetuate strength. And so eventually, if you're honest with your body, you'll go further, and then you start flipping your hands out, which is what I was talking about with Robin. Yeah. One hand flips out, Robin. This hand flips out, and then you grab, kind of like you're hooking the fingers. Yep, yep, yep. This is what my forward folds looked like when I came to yoga. Literally, I couldn't go any further without my back rounding. It's just how it was. All right, so we're going to do that with one leg now. Bend the right knee, drop it out to the side. If you didn't need a belt for the 2 feet, you're not going to need one for the 1 feet, okay? And that could change for you on this one too. So inhale, lengthen, all of the same body work every single time. Shoulders back. Exhale, heart and chin towards the shin. Good. And see if you can grab with both hands. And then shoulders back. Good. And once your fingers start touching here, you flip it out. So Robin, you're probably flipping out on this one. Totally flip out, man. Take another breath or 2 or 3. Is it okay if I touch you? Okay. Yeah, this looks really good. I can tell you keep tension here. So soften here, even if you have to go back on the strap a little bit. Okay, bring this towards each other and now come forward. Stop there. Yep. Inhale, look up. Exhale, release. You're gonna need everything you can get with that, you know what I mean? All right, let's do the other side. So bend the left knee, drop it out. Right leg is straight. The other thing about forward folds is that straight leg is active the whole time. You're pressing it into the mat, okay? Inhale, get tall. Exhale, hinge forward. Just draw the shoulder blades back. Good. And then chin down towards the shin. The elbows can bend as long as the shoulder blades are drawing back. Yes. Take a couple more breaths here. And then inhale, look up, and exhale, release. You can shake the legs out a little bit. Good. We're gonna lie down on our backs here now. And you guys already did the opening and the beginning for the most part, but we also did it for opening. Because if like for a full yoga class, there are some things that have to happen. Forward folds, back bends, side stretches, twists, opening the hips, closing the hips, things like that. So even if you don't think, like if you don't know that formula, that's what has to happen. So we always end with something like a back bend. I shouldn't say we always end. As long as you have a back bend towards the end of your practice, you're good. Because now your spine is warmed up. We've done all of those manipulations, right? So we're gonna do bridge pose, and the knees are gonna be bent with the heels towards the body. We are really looking to have the hip joints, the knees and the ankles and the toes all on the same plane. So in your mind's eye, even though you can't see your feet, try to get your feet to do that. You all look pretty straight, pretty good. Now bring your awareness to your shoulder blades. Shoulder blades are gonna be flat. No pokiness on the shoulder blades. On your next inhale, you're gonna lift the hips up towards the ceiling, okay? Press the inner edges of the feet, press the heels. Just keep breathing here. As you inhale, see if you can get the ribs to go up towards the face a little bit more. And we're just gonna take a few more breaths. The back body is pushing into the front body, the legs, the abdominals, the chest, all of that is also working and lifting. Exhale, bring the pelvis back down. Take a breather here. We're gonna go up one more time. So prepare. Maybe you have to readjust your feet, your shoulder blades. And now inhale, lift. Just keep breathing. Press the inner edges of the feet, press the heels. One more breath. And go ahead and lower. All right, we're gonna hug the knees. So let the spine unwind. Use the abdominals to bring the knees up. Get the lower back flat, no more curve in the lower back. And rock left to right to massage that lower spine. Go ahead and bring the feet down. We're gonna do one more twist and then we get to do our last pose, which is our relaxation. So cross your right leg over your left, kind of like you're sitting in a chair and crossing your legs. And we're coming into this deeper twist. So your knees are just gonna drop to the left. Just drop them to the left. Yep. And then extend the arms out like a T. And try to keep that right shoulder heavy towards the mat. Take a few breaths here. Carefully inhale, come bring the knees back up towards the ceiling, uncross the legs. Now bring the left over the right. Drop the knees to the right. And take your breaths here. In the beginning, when I used to do this, I used to get some really big cracking in the lower spine. If you get cracking in your spine, that's actually really good. It's showing that your spine is still mobile. Inhale, come back to center. Good, uncross the legs, separate the feet to the edges of the mat and just kind of like windshield wipers, just alternate dropping knees left and right. Just to neutralize the spine again. And then bring your knees back up towards the ceiling. We're gonna straighten the legs, bring the arms overhead, and just take a really long breath before we started. Circle the wrists, the ankles. If your body needs, go ahead and do it now before we settle in. Once you're done with your stretching and your movement, bring the arms down. Separate the feet, let the toes hang out to the sides. Palms are going to be facing up and the hands and arms are, well, mostly we'll just say hands are about 6 inches away from the body, with the palms facing up towards the ceiling. And then just notice where your chin is. We want to keep the neck neutral. So chin is a little bit lower than the forehead. So get to the back of the head where it can rest, where it feels like the chin's a little bit lower. This helps with like introspection too, as we lie here. And so this is the part of our class where we observe how the body feels after the moving that we've done. Mentally, how do we feel? Physically, where do we still feel some tightness or unevenness, or where do we feel open? Are we saying nice things to ourselves? How is the quality of the breath? Can you return back to that slow, steady breathing, that inhale and exhale? The natural rhythm that the body falls into for the breath is where we want to be. We're not forcing anything. We're not using any muscles here. Soften the muscles in the face. Soften the jaw, shoulders. Feel the navel fall to the back of the body. Feel the thigh bones fall to the back of the legs. And when your mind begins to wander during this time, as we sit in silence, know that that's normal. See if you can start to pay attention to those empty spaces in between the thoughts, even if they're short. And And again, let your breath be your anchor as you lie here and just allow yourself to be. Bring your awareness back to your breath and allow your inhalations to begin to deepen. Start to feel your exhalations beginning to lengthen. And only when you feel motivated to do so, you can start to wiggle the fingers and the toes slowly. Your body is in balance right now, so we want to be gentle as we wake it up. And you can start to bring more movement in, maybe wrists and ankles, maybe rolling the head back and forth. And eventually you'll want to maybe bend the knees, maybe take a stretch, a hug of the knees. You get to decide what the body's asking for here. And then after another breath or two, you'll roll over onto your right side, using your arm as a pillow, coming into like the fetal position. We're just gonna rest here, enjoy these last few moments of stillness. And then let the head be the last thing that comes up as you safely bring yourself back to a seated position. Nice and slow, use the strength of your arms. Any seated position that's comfortable for you. And if you'd like to join us in closing class, you can bring your hands together in front of your heart. Thank you for letting me guide you today. The teacher in me honors and appreciates the teacher in you. Thank you so much. Thank you. And take your time.